Good, awesome. Okay, well, first I want to say welcome to everybody. My name's Ann and I work here in the Youth Services Department. I know a lot of you. And these are our Readers Theater troupe for the day. They've done a really good job working on a really, really difficult, long script. And what we're doing today is called Double Trouble from Walla Walla. It's written by Andrew Clements, one of the favorite authors for their general age group. They read a lot of Andrew Clements books in school. So this is one of those stories that's really funny. We hope you get a laugh out of it. We are recording it and we'll be putting it up on our website on the Kids Corner, the Huntley Library Kids page. So you guys can check out the video when we get that up. Check for that next week sometime, okay? But for now, I would like you to welcome our Readers Theater troupe for the day. Yay. Okay, and we're going to go ahead. I think I'm going to shut the door. Is everybody ready? Okay, we have several characters in this story. The main characters are Lulu, Mrs. Bell, Mr. Thomas, Mrs. Carter, and the five standing behind are all narrators. Wait. This takes place in a school setting, so these are teachers and a student, so it's really funny. All right, are you guys ready to go? Yep. Okay, whenever you're ready with narrator one.
Double Trouble in Walla Walla by Andrew Clements.
It was an ordinary Monday morning in Walla Walla until Lulu raised her hand in class.
Mrs. Bell, I feel like a nitwit. My homework is all higgledy-piggledy. Last night it was in tip-top shape, but now it's a big mishmash.
Mrs. Bell said,
Nitwit, higgledy-piggledy, mishmash? Lulu, stop that flip-flop chitter-chatter or you'll be in double trouble.
Lulu said,
But I'm not trying to flip-flop chit-chat. I just have an itty-bitty problem with my homework.
Mrs. Bell scowled. All right for you, Lulu. If you're going to shilly-shally and dilly-dally with all this fancy-smancy yak-yak, then we'll just have to trudge down to the principal's office.
Mrs. Bell hurried Lulu down the hall and they burst into the principal's office.
Hee hee, yak yak, my bye, blah blah, looky looky, shh, come come.
Mr. Thomas said,
What's all the hubbub about?
Mrs. Bell said, Lulu's been trying to razzle-dazzle me with some kind of lippity-loppity jibber-jabber, and now I'm all helter-skelter myself.
Mr. Thomas raised his eyebrows. Tut tut, sounds like the silly willy hocus pocus to me.
Mrs. Bell's mouth dropped open. She pointed to the principal and said,
Eka freaka! Lulu's got your tongue all topsy-turvy too.
Now, don't get the jim jams, Mrs. Bell. Let's give the nurse a yoo-hoo.
Mr. Thomas picked up his form and said,
Mrs. Carter, I'm going to pitter-patter over to your office, okie dokie?
All three went across the hall to the nurse's office. Mr. Thomas said,
Howdy doody, Mrs. Carter. We're a little wacko-wacko. Lulu's got us talking this sing-song clap-trap like we're cuckoo.
Mrs. Carter smiled at Lulu and said, Fiddle-faddle! Lulu and I are palsy-wowsies. You wouldn't try that kind of phony-baloney tooty-fruity flim-flam.
Lulu and her teacher and the principal stared at the nurse. Lulu said,
Wowie-zowie!
Mrs. Bell said,
Jeepers creepers!
and Mr. Thomas said,
Holy moly, you're in the same hoji we are. I better give the superintendent a jingle jangle chop chop.
Wait one dang tick-tock!
shouted the nurse.
If you chit-chat with a bigwig, then he'll yak like Lulu too. If we're not very hush about this, there could be a mongo brain drain, and everybody in Walla Walla will be talking like a herky-jerky dingling. Then the nurse turned to Lulu. Lulu, let's get to the nitty-gritty. When did all this mumbo-jumbo start?
Lulu gulped. She said,
In English class, I had an itsy-bitsy problem with my homework. And then zip-zap, Mrs. Bell said talking like this was a no-no.
The nurse looked over the top of her glasses at Lulu.
Something like this would not just happen willy-nilly. Now, Lulu, think extra hard and tell me what you did yesterday.
Well,
said Lulu.
It was really a humdrum day. I was practicing my ballet in my tutu when my little brother Bobo asked me to play on a teeter-totter. We seesawed until Bobo slipped off and got a boo-boo and started to boo-hoo. Mama and Papa came running pell-mell, so I went inside and splish-splashed in a rub-a-dub-a-tub. Then I hip-hopped into my cuddly-wuddly beddy bed. I said night-night to Mama and Papa and Bobo and fell asleep in the snip-snap. That's all I did, honest.
Miss Carter said,
Lulu, it seems to me that you've opened up a knock'em sock'em wibble wobble word war. Usually I don't believe this kind of hoodoo bunko junko. But if it was going to happen anywhere, it would probably happen right here in Walla Walla.
Mrs. Bell said,
Let's not quibble quabble, Mrs. Carter. I'm getting the heebie-jeebies from all this razzmatazz. What can we do? We should say all the rootin' tootin' crankum crankum woolly bully words that we can think of. Maybe that will clear the air and close the door. Worth a try?
Asked Nurse Carter.
Mr. Thomas said,
Aye, aye.
Mrs. Bell said,
Let's do-si-do.
and Lulu said,
Uh-huh.
Nurse Carter closed the door to her office. Then she turned around and said,
Lulu, let's get this harum-scarum show on the road.
Lulu stood right up and blurted out, Ticky-tacky, knick-knack, coochie-coochie-coo, hubba-hubba, Roger-Dodger, ooey-gooey-goo.
Mrs. Carter cleared her throat and said,
Hugger-mugger, hobnob, pitter-patter, bon-bon, wishy-washy, squish-squish, squish-squash, handy-dandy, mish-mosh.
Mr. Thomas closed his eyes and started slowly, but picked up the speed. Eensy-beensy, choo-choo, teeny-tiny, hurdy-gurdy, roly-poly, rag-tag, hurly-burly, riff-raff, rumble-tumble, hip-hop, teeny-weeny, pop-top, namby-pamby, hippy-dippy, hoity-toity, hot-shot. And then Mrs. Bell stood up and took a deep breath.
Pud-pud, brim-brim, honk-honk, zoom-zoom, zigzag, clank-clank, slam-blam, fender-bender, ringy-ding, clang-clang, cling-clang, ring-a-ding, boing-boing, ring-a-zing-bling, zing-zing, bing-bang-boom, never-never, wing-wham, turkey-lurkey, tom-tom, tootsy-wootsy, tittle-tattle, tee-hee-hee.
and then without warning, words flooded the air.
Fuzzy-wuzzy, fuddy-duddy, loosey-goosey, lovely-dovey, kissy-kissy, huggy-huggy, ring-a-ding-a-doo. Gaga, rah-rah, go-go, so-so, fro-fro, goo-goo, poo-poo, woo-woo.
Rinky-dinky, arf-arf, argy-bargy, woof-woof, boogie-woogie, bow-wow, super-duper-scooper, scoo-goo. Clickety-clapper, hippity-happity, clickety-clackety, rickety-rackety. Blah, 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 ha, ha, ha. Clip-clap, drip-drop, click-clack, rick-rack. Eager, beaver, lucky-ducky, comfy-dumpy, fat cat.
Hee-haw, tweet-tweet, chirp-chirp, cheep-cheep, cluck-cluck, quack-quack, yuck-yuck-yuck.
Bubble yo-yo, heyday, mayday, hokey-pokey, hanky-panky, goody-goody, yum-yum. Yummy-yummy, tum-tum, gimme-gimme, gobble-gobble, jelly-belly, dum-dum. Voodoo, voodoo-voodoo, tube, moo-moo, poo-poo, cling-clang, ring-ring, ching-chang, wing-ding, pow-wow, Kong-tong, peg-leg, jet-set.
Shoulda, coulda, woulda, better, hadda, oughta. Ship, shape, some pump, inky, brinky, doodad.
Five, my, rag bag, tie-dye, beep, ho-ho, pa-pa, dodo, ruda, suit, looky, loco, yoko.
Georgie, Porgy,
Hunka, Henny, Penny, Humpty, Dumpty.
And then suddenly, silence. Lulu, Mrs. Bell, and Mr. Thomas slumped into chairs, and Mrs. Carter flopped back to the cot against the wall.
Was it over? No one dared to speak. Lulu whispered,
May I please have a drink of water?
Mrs. Carter sat up and said, Of course you will, my dear.
Mrs. Bell smiled weakly at the principal and said,
You are magnificent, sir.
Mr. Thomas perked up and smiled at everyone. He strangely straightened his tie and said,
I think we've done it, people.
Mrs. Carter sat down at her desk and went back to checking over her posture record.
Mr. Thomas walked across the hall to his office and went back to the letter he was writing.
Lulu followed Mrs. Bell down the hallway and soon had her English homework all straightened out.
And after English, it was just another ordinary day, ordinary Monday in Walla Walla.
Bye-bye, Mrs. Ding Dong. Ta-ta, Lulu.
Good job. Stand up and take a bow. And now you want to see him get really scared. Now we're going to do it from memory. Just kidding, we weren't going to do that. The whole idea of Reader's Theater is to help them get better at reading. When they're practicing it 2 and 3 times, they've read this three times already, and they can take the scripts home and read them to you at home as well. But practicing reading in front of a crowd is tricky, so it helps them develop a little more confidence in their reading. So that's why we're doing Reader's Theater. So I'm glad you guys could all make it tonight. Let's give these guys another hand because they're so brave. Yay! We loved it. It was so much fun. If anyone is still not signed up for summer reading, kids, dads, moms, you can still sign up. There's plenty of time to do that. Also, you want to take a look at our July programs. We have a big midsummer celebration coming up next Wednesday. Hopefully it won't rain. If it does, we'll have a rain date scheduled, so you can just call us. But plan on dropping by. It's, I believe, 5 to 7 on Wednesday evening. We'll be outside on the library lawn having lots of games and fun things for all ages, okay? So that's it for my commercial announcement. So, thanks again for coming. We'll let you guys